Good morning, dear colleagues. Welcome to our event. Thanks for coming. It is dedicated to the presentation of the Ivica Property Investors Company, which manages real estate investments, and as well of the Romanov Property Holdings Fund. Ivica has finalized the purchase of the Four Seasons. Now I'd like to introduce our today's speakers. Mark Stiles, CEO and the Chief Executive Director of the Ivica Property Investors that manages the assets of the fund. Gagika Dzibikan, President of the Board and the founder of the RD Group, a company that owns 50% of Ivica and 50% of the Romanov Fund. Now, again, we also have Ruben Vardanyan, the advisor to the president of the Sberbank of Russia, and he's the head of the group of investors which owns 50% in both entities. And of course, Ram Petrosyan, CFO of the Ivica company, who is actually managing and concluding the deals of the company in the interest of the fund. Now, I'll give word to Mark Stiles, CEO of Ivica Property Investors, that would present the company and will tell us about the company on the assets and the potential of growth.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the press corps and esteemed guests who are here today. Along with my colleagues, we have the pleasure to introduce you to Ivica Property Investors, the Romanov Property Holding Fund, our investment committee, and senior management, and tell you about how we were created and our direction going forward. Ivica Property Investors was established in 2008, become a leading private equity real estate fund management business in Russia. We're combining over 2 decades of experience in investment banking, real estate, and development, putting that to work for our clients. We buy real estate assets, we optimize and stabilize the property, we sell the income to long-term investors, and we generate favorable returns for our investors. The Romanov Property Holding Fund, which consists of 4 property assets, have been acquired over the last 5 years by Ivica Property Investors on behalf of the fund. Today, that total area of space, gross leasable area as we call it in the business, is over 100,000 square meters and has a gross asset value of about $1 billion. We have an investment committee who makes all of the decisions about how we acquire assets, including Gagik Vladimirovich Adebekyan, who's the founder of RD Group, Ruben Karlinovich Vardanyan, who founded Troika Investment Bank, myself, who founded Stiles and Ryboka-Bilka, Cushman & Wakefield, and Aram Davidovich Petrosyan is our CFO and head of acquisitions. And by the way, he's raised over $500 million of debt capital for the Romanov Fund in the last 3 years. Well, we were created by 2 highly successful business builders who have cooperated for decades here in Russia, and they're going to tell you more about how that came to be. But our plans for the future include to grow the value of the Romanov Fund over the next 5 years to a double value, to a target of about $2 billion. And we're planning to do that by executing our value-add strategy for our existing portfolio and opportunistically acquiring additional assets for the funds with the fund's income. And we also very much plan to leverage our track record and experience to expand our fund management business with the creation of new funds for investors. And now I'd like to turn it over to Gagik Vladimirovich, chairman of RD Group, Ivica Investment Committee member, and developer of numerous successful projects in Moscow, especially Romanov Dvor, home to the top financial institutions. Gagik Vladimirovich.
Добрый день.
Good morning. I'm presenting today the RD Group company, and I would like to tell you more about our company. It was founded in 1996, and today The main project we are putting in practice and we're proud of is, of course, the Romanov Dvor, first, second, and third stages to be built and commissioned in April 2014. Currently, the company, the RD Group company, is a multifunctional holding having both a developer structure and a construction and management entity. Each of these parts work independently on the market. Our construction company has a portfolio of 200,000 square meters of already commissioned projects. RD Management Services has a portfolio of 800,000 square meters under its management of commercial and office real estate. Some words about our merger with Ruben and the creation of the fund. Of course, in 2008, an important milestone for us was the creation of the fund Romanov Property and the managing company Avika. What was our motivation? Well, of course, that this merger allowed us to better integrate the processes, the developers' processes, the financial processes. What characterizes our company? I would say that our company is stable, it provides quality. So why we're stable? Well, the quality is understandable. The quality can be either good or bad. So we don't have bad quality. Why we're stable? Stable because in these 15 years on our real estate market, which is a volatile one, we've managed to survive two crises in 2008 and 2000 and 2008, and I think that we ended up to be winners. In 2008, we've purchased a very good lender, Troika Dialog, and a good partner, Raiffeisen Bank. In 2008, we've got a great partner in the person of Ruben Verdunian as the co-founder of the fund. So what are our future plans? I think Ruben could speak more about that, and Ram could add what he thinks to be appropriate. Now, thank you. I would like to introduce Ruben Verdunian as the co-founder of the Romanov Property Holdings Fund. Ruben is, of course, the leading specialist on investments in the country, and I would like to ask Ruben to speak about the partnership with the RD Group, reasons for investing in commercial real estate, expectations on this segment. For more than 20 years, you are probably the main person to attract international investment. How do you think it would be possible to attract such investment into the real estate? Thank you. Thank you. Despite the early morning, you're all here. I am very glad to be here with my partner Gagik and my other colleagues at this table and tell of what has been done. Of course, we have an example of a very successful business. You know, I've been doing investments for 20 years now, and I'm often asked, what's the criteria for success? I think people, the right partners. And when Gagik was speaking about quality, I think this is very important. When we moved in 1998, some month before the crisis, to Romanov Dvor, I think this building was quite different in terms of its quality, built upon the state-of-the-art standards, and is one of the best office buildings in Moscow. We've gone through different times, hard times for everyone, and the stability of relationships of the agreements are very important, because this is a long-term planning business. It requires to be precise and disciplined. We need to have the right partner, the right landlord. So in 2002, we helped to attract investor to Opel. Well, it was in some important investments was done during the second stage of investments, and then we understood that the market is developing, or the real estate market is developing. It becomes more professional, requires more quality. It requires more financing. So we agreed with Gagik to have a common management company, to which he would bring not only the Romanov company, but also his knowledge and his experience. And together with my team, like with people like Aram and other people, we would be able to attract new investors, new financing. I think we have a very good combination of two complementing elements of the knowledge of the market of real estate and of the market of capitals. In these years, we've passed through difficult times, but I think that if you have the right partners, if you have the right structure, the results would be there. Ram would tell you more about it. All of our investors should be proud of what has been done as partners owning most of this company. And as managers of the fund, we're of course very happy with the results, but there is of course things we can do more, some ambitious plans we have for the future, for building even a more successful company, a more successful managing company, and increasing the value of our funds, seeing that it works even in our market, despite the multiple players there are. We have some opportunities for improving our business. We also think that we have a great expertise in working not only in Russia but abroad as well. In terms of real estate management, we already have one project in Armenia related to the creation of a school in Dilejan, developed by RT Group as the managing company. It was a very interesting experience. We'll have a look at these and other projects in North America and other parts of the world. So all of these projects are in their different stages of restructurization, and I think that this is a unique opportunity on how to select investment destinations, and how to structure them. Before the crisis, a lot of investors were taking a huge leverage, were taking huge responsibilities, but when lending rates went down, they found themselves in a difficult situation. So I think that succeed those who have both money and experience in working in this sector. So I think that the first 5 years is a good foundation for building a big player, not only in Russia, but also abroad. Thank you very much, Ruben. Now, I'd like to introduce Ram Petrosyan. He is the CFO of the Avica company, and he directly coordinates all the deals and financial processes in the company. I would like Aram to speak about the portfolio and the current indicators of the Romanov Property Holdings Fund. Thank you very much. I will probably start since 28, and we'll speak more about figures. We had, and we expect in the future. In 2008, investors of the fund invested $276 million. Basically, they invested in the Romanov Dvor office center. Since then, we raised bank loans on $550 million from major Russian and international banks, and we've made 3 acquisitions. a dream house commercial center in Bervicha, Four Seasons, and the OP joint project. It was the first institutional deal on renting and lending a commercial center. Our valuation is of $1 billion. EBITDA by 2013 on assets will be $100 million.
Speaking about profitability, within 5 years of activity, we got a IR of 20%, which, taking into account 2 years of crisis, is quite a good indicator for investment. Speaking about future, within the next 5 years, we expect the increase of our asset portfolio without additional capital investment to get up to $2 billion. So the stability that has been mentioned several times, it's very important for us, and we are going to keep the leverage of not more than 50 to 60% of the asset cost of the asset price. As for future investment plans, as any managing company, we are in constant search of many projects and in constant process of analysis. And currently, we are considering several inviting deals that we may implement. In 2014, we are going to proceed with the third stage of Romanov Dvor complex. As for the rest of the deals, we can announce it later when the deals are closer to conclusion. Thank you, Aram, and we are moving on to your questions and answers. So please stick to the subject of our meeting. We are talking today about Romanov Property Holding Fund and about activity of Avica Property Investors. And also, please introduce yourselves. So, any questions? Mr. Bushukin, RBC недвижимость. I wanted to ask you how the investment committee works. How do you select subjects for investment? Let me reply to that. Initially, we had this mechanism introduced that we have two key shareholders, Gagik and me. And we select someone who presents the project. We have investment committee meetings on a regular basis, and their projects are being presented. So that's how decisions are being taken. We have 3 decision-making people. 2 key shareholders, of course, play a very active role in these committee meetings. So Gagik and me are responsible for taking the decisions. Thank you. Other questions? Arseniy Misitov, Interfox. I have a question probably both to Mr. Vardanyan and Mr. Adibikan. Can you give us more details about the relationship between the funds, how they are connected, what's the property ownership structure, and also speaking about the figures, as far as I remember, Aram was saying that there are 550 million of attracted investments within the 5 years. So can you give us more detail about this money? So who is going to reply? I didn't understand the first part of the question. Ownership structure. So, wait, let us understand. There are 3 different institutions. There is RD Group, a company of Adibikan. They are doing development, construction, property management. It's his private company where he is a shareholder. And it is a shareholder of the Romanov Holding Fund, and it's also a shareholder of Avica. So there is a management company that manages the fund. In both cases, both Gagik and me have 50%. Management company for AVIC and management company for the fund. We have an equal share. And we haven't invested, like Gagik also has invested his assets. So there is a company and there is a fund. So it's quite clear and transparent. So as for the management company, it's Gagik and me. As for the fund, there are also private investors. As for investments, we had loans from Raiffeisen Bank for the first stage of Romanov Dvor construction. There were other investors. There were Russian banks who were investing, and as Aram said, like Aram said, we are very conservative. We are quite conservative in real estate, and we have over 50% of the property prices reserved. So I hope I managed to reply. Other questions? I thought there was some lack of understanding about the OB deal. Well, Four Seasons is quite a big asset, it's clear. Romanov Dvor, yes. Dream House, it's an interesting story. You have a lot of work going on. But OB deal is unique. It's a very well-known German company leading in the Russian market. And this was a unique deal because we have purchased the building and rented it to OB, and so it's additional liquidity, additional cash flow. So it means that the landlord is quite stable, and this system that they have in the West, it's not very typical for Russia. I think it's the first institutional deal where international retail operators sold his real estate asset and got it back as a rented place for 30 years. It's unique, and we consider this deal as the first of a number of deals that we plan to conclude, not only with OB, because for OB it's very important to develop its business as its main business, and real estate is not part of their main business. And it's very important for them to have a partner that they could trust and from who they can rent. So that's how they get capital, and they have more opportunities to develop in Russia. Also, a couple words about estate management. It's very important not only to own properly, but to manage properly. And speaking about all the sites, Four Seasons, Romanov Dvor, Dream House, we have a famous German company as a partner for Dream House. And in case we are continuously improving the management, we have taken a very serious approach, and our success is determined not only by the knowledge about our areas, but also by proper management, because Romanov Dvor is considered not to be one of the easier buildings in Moscow to manage. And the figures that were presented by Aram are also quite impressive. This getting as high as these figures within the 5 years, starting from 2008, it's very impressive. And he was being modest. And we want to get to 2 billion, as was mentioned, and we want to get to collaborate not only with Russian but foreign investors, and we have the whole platform to get the ability of creating a set of funds that can invest in projects such as OB and other projects. So the task, the objective we are setting for ourselves currently is enlarging the business manifold based on what we have. Good morning. Thank you. Бережная Надежда и Tartas. I have a question related to acquisition of Four Seasons. Can you give us more details about the deal? Can you give us the value of the deal? The acquisition process was started in 2012. Co-owners of this commercial center were two funds. Austrian fund having 40% share and Canadian fund, one of the largest pension funds on Cambridge. They owned 60%. So in 2012, I think it was April, we have completed acquisition of the first part of the 40% Austrian share, and by the end of the third quarter of 2013, we have acquired the second part. Unfortunately, I cannot disclose the value of the deal. We have NDA with the partners. Екатерина Геращенко, Коммерсант. Ruben Karlinovich, can you tell us how many investors are there in the consortia you created? There are only 5 of them. Are these physical entity? Yes. Tatiana Sokolova from RU. As for profitability of such deals, maybe you have mentioned this somewhere. And what's the profitability of such deals in other countries? Which deals do you mean? Deals involving purchasing the property and back leasing.
So in European countries, we're seeing the yields are about half of what they are here in Russia today. And that has a lot to do with the perceived risk that's in Moscow and Russia overall. But the reality is that most all the retailers, especially the big box retailers today, they're treating this like a gold rush, and they're trying to open as many stores as they can. The market penetration here is only about 20% of the rest of Europe. For example, there's 3 hypermarkets per million people compared to 15 per million people in Europe. And the growth rate here in Russia is about 16-17% today. So everyone's familiar with the population figures of Russia, 140 million people. We only have about 16 million square meters of retail property in the country. And that compares with France, for example, and Great Britain, who have about the same amount, 16 million, but they only have about 65 million people. So we see the market still capable of at least doubling here in Russia.
Ну, у вас перевод не сразу пошел. Здесь еще сказал, что Марк, что это в 2 раза выше.
So to avoid the delays, the profitability is twice as high compared with the European market. So the difference is, you can take the public European figures. We cannot disclose some information, so you can use it as a benchmark. Yes, I want to support this information. If we use borrowed funds in Europe, then profitability can be raised up to 8 to 12% when exiting the deal, but I think it's the maximum for Europe. Thank you. Other questions? Olga Sichka from Reuters. I have a question about the fund. You've enumerated the projects that are part of the fund. What about the new projects? Well, we have the existing fund that is going to be increased. We'll have several sites like third stage of Romanendor, and we want to increase up to $2 billion. And we want to start a number of funds under the same management company, including funds in such areas as retail. We will have a fund family focusing on different areas of activities. We believe it is to be an ambitious task for the next 5 years, and we'll be managing twice or thrice as much in 5 years' time as we do now.
No mic, sorry. Without the mic, the interpreting is not possible. Absolutely. Money is something that you can speak about, but then it comes out that the result is quite different. Well, you've heard all the figures. Aram mentioned a lot of figures. It's 1 billion fund and everything else. You've heard it. No mic, sorry. Without the mic, the interpreting is not possible. What's the biggest yield in the next 5 years, considering the crisis or without considering the crisis? Speaking about these 5-6% or more, what do you think for Russian investors? Whether it's interesting, this area, this story, is it interesting? You mean buyback, leasing deals?
I think it's interesting because globally what we see happening is that yields have compressed all over the world, and there are very few places where investors can get stable income into their portfolios. The target of owning assets, for example, like the OBI, sale and leaseback, are that, and also for buying shopping centers like Vremya and Dreamhouse and Romanov, is that we as a professional investment management company come in and we optimize those properties where they can be optimized. So we increase the value of the income by bringing in better tenants, optimizing the gross leasable area in the space, improving the operating efficiencies, generating higher yields. Once we stabilize the assets, then that income can be distributed directly to the investors. So globally, we see half the yields in other countries as we have here, and a lot of it's because of perceived risk. And I would venture that probably 20% of the return that we get here in Russia today is just because of investors' lack of understanding or lack of actually a platform for them to invest into this market.
Thank you very much. Any more questions, colleagues? If there are no more questions, then thank you very much indeed for your attention. Our event will be then over, and I would like to once again remind you that you can get all of our press materials at the exit about our briefing. Thank you very much and have a nice day.